obviously we're having some issues with immigration reform, right? We're having problems with, I don't know, tens of thousands of children illegally entering the country because they're trying to get away from terrible situations in Central America. And so people constantly say we need to beef up Border Patrol. We need to make sure we have more checkpoints. We need to make sure we pass laws like Arizona's law, SB 1070. We need to look at papers. We need to make it really, really difficult for people to enter the country illegally, which is fair. I can understand that. We don't want undocumented immigrants coming into the country. We want to ensure that we have a pathway of citizenship. We need to pass comprehensive immigration reform. However, some of the strict laws that we've passed as of late have actually violated the freedoms and the rights of everyday Americans that are here legally, that aren't doing anything wrong, and are being harassed by certain checkpoints that are 50 to 100 miles away from the border. Case in point, Slate magazine did an awesome piece on how Arizona immigration checkpoints are being criticized by the good people of Arizona. They're getting frustrated by these checkpoints that are 50 to 100 miles away from the actual border. Citizens are being basically harassed by some border agents, and they kind of share their stories. So let me give you a few of those stories. One person says, I know that Border Patrol abuse Latinos, people with brown skin, as beautiful as God made us. I love this quote. I see that my friends, my family are questioned and judged without reason just for being Latino. They ask questions that are not necessary, but I am not doing anything wrong. So there's one woman who feels like she's being harassed. She's here legally. She's dealing with this on a regular basis. And the interesting issue is she's not alone. There is anecdotal evidence to indicate that there are conservatives, libertarians, of course liberals, that are extremely frustrated at the fact that they're being harassed every time they want to drive around their own state. They're not doing anything wrong, and sometimes it's not even about immigration. Sometimes it's because these Border Patrol agents are straight up looking for drugs. Now, we did an investigative report on this. One of our reporters, Shivala Madlena, did a really great job about talking about this issue in Texas, and I want to show you a little snippet of the video. This is the documentary we did. It's called Busted in Texas, and it kind of gets into the nitty-gritty as to why this is pissing so many people off. Take a look.
Customs and Border Protection has now become the largest law enforcement agency in the country.
The majority of our activity is going to be within the first 30 miles of the border, because that's where our primary focus is.
Most Americans may not know it, but there is a second line of defense. A network of domestic checkpoints up to 100 miles away from Mexico. These internal checkpoints also received an influx of agents as well as new gear and sniffer dogs. We went to check out a particularly notorious one, Sierra Blanca, in the middle of nowhere on Interstate 10 in West Texas.
Hey ma'am, everyone on board a citizen?
Yes, sir.
This is where a host of American celebrities have been busted for drugs. Snoop Dogg, Fiona Apple, and of course Willie Nelson, while rolling through in his tour bus. Checkpoints like this were set up to catch illegal immigrants and major drug traffickers. But the Center for Investigative Reporting has found that instead, this Border Patrol checkpoint is ensnaring mostly Americans, thousands of U.S. citizens traveling within their own country.
So we're dealing with a really fascinating case here, where you do have conservatives who are in favor of individual liberty, right? Or you have libertarians that are in favor of individual liberty. But now American citizens are being harassed at these checkpoints because we want to basically go after undocumented immigrants. So there's a little bit of a catch-22 there, because obviously you want to find a way to deal with this situation, but in the process of doing so, you do annoy a lot of citizens that are here completely legally, people who have been born here, people who aren't doing anything wrong. And it kind of reminds me of the situation with national security, right? There's the case made that, hey, you know what, we got to protect our borders, we got to ensure that we're not going to be threatened by terrorists. And so we need to beef up national security. We need to beef up the TSA. We need to make sure that certain privacy issues are kind of brushed away to ensure that we're all safe. And this is kind of a similar situation where you have all these checkpoints and they're going to be annoying as hell, and they're going to basically violate some of your liberties because we want to go after undocumented immigrants. Now, the big issue here is comprehensive immigration reform. What are we going to do to change that? What are we going to do to deal with that issue? Again, the Obama administration successfully got the Senate to pass comprehensive immigration reform. But unfortunately, the House of Representatives decided, no, we're not going to have it. So this issue keeps coming up, and we have no real solutions. We just continue to talk about, oh, strengthening border security, when in reality, A, it's not working that successfully, and B, it's starting to piss off Americans that are doing absolutely nothing wrong. Now, if you want to look at Arizona specifically, in southern Arizona, there are at least 11 checkpoints, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, and they're all positioned about 25 to 50 miles north of Mexico. So we got to figure out how we're going to deal with this situation, and to give you a better sense of what Texas is currently doing, Rick Perry has decided that he's going to spend $12 million a month of taxpayer money to beef up border security in Texas. To give you a sense of exactly what he wants to do, it's 1,000 National Guard troops on the border. Now, the Obama administration is asking Perry to hold his horses and to wait because they're trying to deal with this situation by requesting $3.7 billion in emergency appropriations to deal with the crisis involving the 50,000 plus children that came into the country from Central America. But of course, Governor Perry wants to make a statement. He's very tough on immigration, and the Obama administration, of course, is very soft on it. So we'll see how this all goes, but just keep in mind that while we fight this issue of undocumented immigration, a lot of Americans are going to have to deal with certain inconveniences that they're not going to be too happy about.